Okay.
As we gather to celebrate International Women's Day, it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome a distinguished guest, Akpevwe Alero Oputu. Akpevwe is not only the chief dealer at Lotus Bank, but also a trailblazer in the banking industry, known for her unwavering commitment to excellence and innovation. With a career spanning over 13 years, she has honed her skills in trade finance and treasury operations, making significant contributions to the field. Her impressive educational background, including a B.Sc in accounting and finance and a master's degree in risk management, reflects her dedication to continuous learning and professional growth. Akpevwe's journey from her early days in Delta States to her influential roles at Lotus Bank is an inspiring testament to the power of determination and passion. Today, we look forward to hearing her insights and experiences as we honor the achievements of women globally. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Akpevwe Alero Oputu. Akpevwe, it's a great pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me in your show today. I'm so excited to be here.
Wow, this is such an amazing, you know, background and profile for someone as young as you are. Can you tell us a little more about Akpevwe Oputu? Tell us about your background. Where are you coming from? All the way from Delta State? Please tell us your story.
Thank you. Okay. I would have used the popular line like a small girl, big God, but it's more than that. God has
Mhm.
been faithful. So I actually started my banking career 13 years ago. I started in Diamond Bank. It wasn't banking was really the place to work at the time when we all started. So starting your professional career from there was actually a good opportunity for us at the time. Now, you have technology taking over the banking industry. So I started 13 years ago. I have, like you mentioned in your profile, I have a B.Sc in accounting and finance from the Delta State University, Abraka. And so accounting wasn't my first choice. I actually wanted to read law at the time, but when they say jam you,
So,
you start looking for you start looking for the
alternatives.
the alternative, and that was how I found myself into in accounting, and turned out to be a great career for me. So I actually studied accounting and finance for 4 years, and then you NYC, and then I found myself in Lagos and kickstarted my banking career. So along the line, self-development is very, very key, is very important. If you've chosen a career path, you have to ensure that you're growing towards the path that you've chosen. So I went ahead to do a master's in risk management from the University of Lagos State. I got an MSc in risk management. I didn't stop there. I still went ahead to pursue some certifications. I got a certified Treasury Professional. I have a certification, a certified Treasury Analyst as well. So I've actually tried to build a career path for myself, and try to make sure that whatever the industry requires from you in the line that you have chosen, you make sure that you're putting all those things in place. And that's just how my career in banking has spanned so far.
Oh, that's so amazing. I love to talk about the self-development. Growth was the path that you have chosen. That is so, so amazing. I like the fact that it's a little girl, big God. That's a good line. We can all keep the line for sure. Can you tell us about some key
Um,
milestones? What have been some of the key milestones in your career that you believe have significantly shaped your professional path? What are the key milestones in your career that you believe have significantly shaped your professional path? Would like to know about that. It seems we're having some technical glitches here. We'll just wait for her to regain internet connection so that we can continue. Akpevwe has been speaking to us about her career beginnings, and it's so beautiful to know that, yes, although she wanted to study law, she didn't get the law she wanted, but she did get something else, and she got an alternative. When she got that alternative, she didn't begin to say, "Oh no, I had this issue, jammed me, so I'm just going to be beaten down." She took the initiative and took the bull by the horn and focused headlong on the career that she found herself. Now, but now that you're back, can you tell us about the key milestones? What have been some of the key milestones in your career that you believe have significantly shaped your professional path?
Okay, so one of the major thing I think I did that has shaped my banking career was making the first move into banking, and also moving with the right friends too. The people who you keep around you tend to shaping how you actually become, because so first to say, I actually started my career. My first job was actually in telecoms, and I kept this set of friends from school that were where they started their banking career early. So most of the times we spoke, they were always talking about this banking stuff, banking days, and it caught my interest. They were my peers, and they seemed to be earning more than I was. I started asking myself, "Are you sure I'm in the right path? Maybe I should give this banking thing a try." And so, having the right set of people around you, keeping the right set of friends, actually tend to shape how your career path grows. Even the Bible says it. Tell me your friends, and I'll tell you who you are. So, and that's how I moved into banking gradually. And I found myself, I joined Diamond Bank early in 2011. I started my career in trade, international trade, which is a very, very specialized and a very good department for anyone who's looking to come into banking too, because the experience I got from them, from trade, actually shaping my career move from trade into treasury. Coming into being a chief dealer in Lotus Bank Treasury wasn't something that happened to me overnight. It was a
Wow.
career progression. I had some level of trade experience, and when it was time to move on to the next phase of my, it was easy blending into a new department and having the right set of skills and experience. It was just there. So and that's how I moved from my career path from trade and into treasury. And I would like to say that when you actually start your career in banking,
Mhm.
banking is a very competitive space to be in. You when you start as a young person, you must endeavor to learn at the grassroots, to learn whatever job roles that you are put
Mhm.
in, and be a master of what you do. Because as you grow into, you're going to have a lot of people who you work with, they will come under you, who you would actually train. And if you don't learn the basics when you move into banking, when you get to the top, it's difficult for you to understand what those who work under you are actually doing, and you start going back to trying to learn from them. So
I absolutely agree with you concerning knowing the basics. Also, I worked in the bank for 18 years before I also relocated. And I went through operations, I went into
wow.
sales and marketing. And trust me, when the other salespeople, the marketers are looking for things to do, I tell them it is possible. At some point, I was teaching the operations staff to say, this thing I'm asking you to do, number one, is within the policy, because I knew exactly what the policy was. Because I was the customer service champion, I was total quality management. I knew everything they had to do with operations. Although I was in customer service, I understood what the head of operations roles were, what the funds transfer roles were, even trade, even though that was in head
Yeah.
office. I made sure I understood every department and what they do. And for me, that was exactly what you just said is quite huge. Because when you go up there, you can't be saying you don't know the basics. I had colleagues who worked their way up to the top but knew absolutely nothing about operations. The operations people will mess you up because you don't know what you're supposed to know, and
Yes.
you just delay your customers' transactions for absolutely
Yeah.
no reason. Now, Akpevwe, can you please
No
tell us,
reason.
as a woman in a traditionally male-dominated field, what challenges have you encountered? And how have you navigated these obstacles? We're celebrating the International Women's Day. The month actually for me is a celebration of women and what they've done. And I know that as women in a traditionally male-dominated field, the field that you chose, what has been your challenges you encountered and how have you navigated those obstacles?
So when I joined banking, it was I can remember how my first week, and I would do my makeup, do my hair and everything, and come to the office. And my male counterparts, they were like, "Ah, this or that, you did your hair, you did your makeup. Are you sure you can do this work?" So they were skeptical about giving me things to do because they thought I was she sold this, she sold that. We don't want to break her and all of that. So they started by giving me little tasks to do just to give me time to settle in. And they found out, if they give me something to do almost right away, I was done with it and I'd gotten it back to them. And they started increasing my job roles and job function. As I see me as a guy, I was working as a lady among like six other guys. Before long, I was like, AK, the guy, go and give it to AK to do. Go and give it to AK to do. So you don't when you come into banking, there's no this is a female role, this is a male role. So the banking industry also tries to make sure that there's no discrimination. Even in the staff recruitment, the HR has to ensure that in a particular department, the level of male to female is actually really you have to make sure that it's balanced up. Then I want to speak to the Nigerian banking industry right now. The women have taken over the industry. The MDs of more than 11 of the tertiary banks that you have are headed by female
So,
MD. The MD of Lotus Bank is a female. The MD of Union Bank,
Jenny,
FCMB, Fidelity Bank, Zenith, GT, all the top major banks you have in the that tell you that women are capable of getting the things right. Even Access Bank now, the MD is a female. So women in banking, we've actually changed the narrative to say we can actually do this, we can actually get it right. There's no like discrimination. We can do it, and we can do it much more better.
I love why you talk about the women in banking changing the narrative, and that goes across
Yeah,
both different careers. Yes, the ratio could say, okay, 11 out of 33, but again, that is progressive. That wasn't so a
yeah,
couple of years ago, but now we're seeing women begin to rise and take their place. That is huge for me. Now, Akpevwe, tell us about the
yeah.
role of education. How has your academic background in accounting, finance and risk management and all of the other certification you talked about prepared you for your roles in banking and what you're doing currently?
If there's one myth that is out there is that you have to study accounting to be a banker. It is not true. You can be the best in whatever course you read and you will do well in banking. And I was faced with people who read courses that had nothing to do with financial statements. Some people read Greek, some people read engineering. My boss was read medicine, and he went to he just didn't go to medical school, but he studied. He came into banking, and he was my first boss. So banking really it's not necessarily that you must read accounting. So that myth is actually wrong. You can do well in other courses and actually find your way into banking. So, but banking, like I said, is a very competitive space. And because of the competition in banking, you require some certain level of education for you to find yourself in banking. And one of it is that you must have a B.Sc degree if you really want to come into that space because of the competition. So that's one of the criteria that is used to let some standard go. Then if you have other certifications such as your CFA, you have your ACCA, you have your ICANN, then you have like an upper hand when you're coming into, because it shows that you've gone ahead to specialize in this area, which is really good. I had some friends who read Agric in school and they were chartered, before coming into the banking industry. So the first thing to note is that irrespective of the course you read in school, you can actually path your way into your banking career. So a level of education is very important. If you've gone further to have a master's degree, it is really good. When I started my banking career, you had to have a 2-2 or a 2-1 to come into some banks. But now we've realized that you train people who have gotten first class, they've gotten their 2-1, and then along the line they find out, oh, banking is not for me, and they move ahead. So I think the banking industry has decided to expand to see, oh, if you've gone to the university, you have this degree, please, we're looking for you. So a 2-2 can actually bring you into the banking industry. And I know there was a time that there was an age grade for you to come into the bank. So you had to be nothing more than 30 for some banks to come in. And that's because in our culture here in Nigeria, we think that once you pass a certain age, it becomes difficult for you to be taught. So many people don't want to work under bosses who are older than they are or younger than they are. So it becomes an issue in banking. So banking always try to take in this age grade. So you come in when you're 24, so it gives you some level of respect to those people that are actually ahead of you. So, but now I know that we've grown past that in the industry. If you have this qualification, if you're below 30, if you have experience, you're actually welcome to come into banking. Yeah.
That's amazing talking about the role of education in the background. I actually studied English and I started working in the bank in 2005 and I grew through the ranks. Again, you're so correct about it doesn't matter what your educational background is. Your boss read medicine and he's there, but again, you said that because the industry is quite competitive and versatile, you need to hone your skill to go to the next level. You can come with the background that you have, but just be ready to upskill to go to the next level. So the next question, Akpevwe, to be for women empowerment, what advice would you give to young women aspiring to enter the finance and the banking sector? There's some people who says no, oh, there's too many, it's a very challenging sector. We don't want to be a part of this. What advice would you give to young women aspiring to enter the finance and the banking sector?
The banking sector is actually really challenging because there's a lot of drive, there's a lot of targets to be met, but I think it's not different from any other industry that is out there, So why people talk about the banking industry so much is because banking industry is one of the most an employer of labor. We have in some banks you have over 5,000 staffs, and not many other institutions are able to hire as much. So you see this level. you can hear the story of what happens in the banking industry more than you would hear in other in competitive industries, because everybody has a relative who works in the bank or has stayed with one relative who works so when they come back home, they go in the morning, they come back home tired, they give you the stories on how their day was, and that gets you really scared or worked up. But I know people who also work as teachers, and they wake up very early, they go to school, they don't even get home until late because they have to do extra work and lessons. So the banking industry is quite competitive. The banking industry also runs the economy, the financial system of the country. It is very important. It is very taxing. You can't have a country that the financial sector is weak. You have investors coming there, and it's the people who work with these institutions that actually make up what the investors out there see in that country. Someone tell you, if you're going to go into a country to invest your funds, one of the things that you look is, one thing they say, okay, look at what the inflation figure is of that country and their return. You will know whether it's a good place to invest your money. The banking sector actually does that for the economy. And there are people who work tirelessly behind those sectors to actually make sure that the country looks good. But I can tell you for sure, it works, it pays, and the banking industry was one of the highest paying jobs that were out there at a time, because we noticed that most of the young people were coming in, and you needed to compensate them if you wanted them to stay in the industry. You needed one of the most corporate organizations. You need your workers looking good. So I can tell from my experience while I worked in Access Bank, it was a top priority for management, for staffs to be able to manage their work life, their balance, and all of that. So the banking industry is competitive. It is very taxing, but I can tell you at the end of the day, it really pays your input into the industry.
I absolutely agree with you. I remember my mom was, my daughter, they work for bank. It gives you this prestige and it gives you this know-how because you want to dress very well. I remember when I came and I work from home. I just go to the house. My son looked at me one day and said, "This is not the mommy we know. Ah, mommy, go and dress up. Even if you are working from home, go and dress up. I want to see that mommy, that power dresser. Please go and dress up again." And you know what? Because
Yeah.
of them, I started making up. I would dress up. I'm like, yes, this is the mommy. It's true. It actually gives you that level of confidence. It inspires you to be more. It's challenging, but it puts you apart with your mate in any industry. For me, I love banking. Let's talk about mentorship, Akpevwe. Has there been any mentors in your career who have significantly impacted your development? And how did they influence you? The role of mentorship in our careers. Can you talk to us about your mentors? Anyone who has mentored you, and how did they significantly impact your development? And how was the influence in your life?
So I'm really hopeful that my aunt will get to watch this someday, because she's actually my mentor. So when I started my banking career, I didn't have anybody grooming me. And I must say that your mentor does not necessarily have to be somebody who is older than you are, because it's also a myth. You can have somebody who is younger than you, but has a certain level of experience or exposure and can actually discuss on some issues that could guide your career path with you not really knowing. So I have a mentor. Her name is Evelyn Oputu. So when she was very big in the financial sector at the time, she was a managing director of the Bank of Industry. She led a lot of women led businesses. She's chairman of board in different organizations. So I remember when I joined, I was going to go into banking. I went to meet her and I told her that I just finished my NYC. I was looking for a job, and now here I was in Lagos. And she met me and she said, what are you doing in Lagos? Why don't you go to Warri, go to Delta State where you grew up, and go and develop the states with it's not just when you go to the university, what they teach you people is not just to look for job. You must be part of the people that will grow the country. Look at the three basic necessities of life. You need to give food, you need to give shelter, you need to give clothing. That you don't come out from universities and just start thinking that I'm looking for a job, which is what they teach us in university. When you come, you must work for somebody and all of that. So she tried, she said that to me, even though it was hurtful at the time because I was young. All I was taught is that when I come out from university, there's one job that will be waiting for me ready. I never really thought that why aren't you the one doing the job that other people are working? I was so young and so I actually found myself into banking. I started doing my small hustling by myself, as in trying to work. But I went back to her and I told her, I said, please, these are some of the issues that I am having in banking. You've been there, you've done that, you have a medal, you know. But then with mentorship, you don't have to go through all the stress and the mistakes
Mm.
that you others have made or have done before you. It helps to guide your path to the right path. So I said, oh, this is the department I'm in. I'm having this challenge. Short, I think I'm even going through a depression and all of that. And she called me. She tried to talk me. How does my day-to-day activities? How is
Mm.
it? And I explained everything to her. And she talked me through some of the things that she thought I wasn't doing right and I should implement. And I went back to work. I used to be this person that I must carry all the load on my head and do it by myself. I don't like sharing work because I'm not sure of the input you're putting into my job. And banking, anything you use your name to sign is you that did it. You can't come back tomorrow and
Responsible.
say, I delegated it to somebody to do for me. So I started trying to practice delegation of responsibility, even as a young person at that time. So some people feel that because you are an entry level staff in the bank and your workload is excessive, you can't talk to the next person back to close to you and say, boss, please, I need some help in this area. They can give you a better way to do the things that you are doing. They can actually help you even take up some of your responsibilities that it's light for them to do. They have experience in it. So while it's taking me a long time to post a batch or do something, by the time I tell them 1 minute they're done, they say, these are your files. So I started engaging more. I said, so having mentors speak to you about their experience and all of that, it actually goes a long way to make your work easier. At the time I was going to move in my career, which was one of the most difficult time for me. I'd spent so long in a bank and made so much friends there. It was like a home for me. And I noticed that for me to be able to grow and expand my horizon, I needed to move somewhere else. I had to go back to her and say, um, this is the move I'm trying to make. I'm moving from here to here. And we spoke about it. And she told me to look out for some three things. Is this going to be a leadership role for me? Is it more money too for you? Do you think that your responsibilities will increase and your visibility? Or is it growth? When they ask you what's your growth path and you say all those things that you usually say, you
Mm-hmm.
must make sure that they're actually things that you implement and all of that. And she had done it. She's been there, so she would know if it was the right move or not at that particular time. And from the encouragement and I got from her, I took the bold step to make that move. And I can say I didn't do it on my own, and it's been profitable to me.
The role of mentorship, like you said, is so amazing. And I love what you said about her. She has gone through that road. There's this saying that if you want to go through a journey, you need to ask the people who have passed that road before because they've gone through the road, they know where the pitfalls are, they know the places for you to avoid. And it's so powerful. I'm working on getting a mentorship group for younger people because if you have mentorship and guidance, there are some mistakes that can be avoided. Every time I speak to people, I say one of my regrets is not having mentors at certain levels or certain parts in my life to have given me the guidance that I needed. But I'm also grateful for the people I met along the way. And I want to say Thank you to your auntie. We hope she gets to hear this because again, it's good to know that you avoided some pitfalls because someone gave you direction in your life. Now, in your current role at the Lotus Bank, how do you approach innovation in the Islamic banking sector? And what changes do you foresee? Yeah, you're handling a role that is quite dynamic and different. I never even really knew about this part of banking sector, but here you are handling that sector. What what changes do you foresee in the future?
So if there's one thing that is constant, is change. I'd spent almost 11 years of my career having done the conventional banking way of doing things. And then I find myself here in an Islamic bank where there are a different governing principle on how banking or things are actually done. And I've actually, I opened my mind to see things from the perspective of someone else's view. If people have come together, they've set this up, there was something behind their belief and why they think that this actually works, or having this style of banking, which is a non-interest, or the Islamic banking, which is practiced in Lotus Bank and some of other Islamic bank, how they plan for it to work. And having the experience from the conventional bank, I've been able to bring in some level of innovation, which we practice in those banks. And it actually turns out to have worked here. So you look at the practice and you see, where do you connect, where do you fit, and where do you help the bank grow. I've been in Lotus Bank for 2 years now, and by God's grace, I have gotten two promotions in the 2 years I've been there. And it wasn't just because, it was because I took the bold step. And like I mentioned the one earlier, you have to learn when you are in the grassroots, and you have to bring all that you have learned to the table and see how you can bring that change in an institution, and be able to bring to develop whatever the bank's vision is. Innovation is one of the key culture of Lotus Bank. So always trying to bring in new things into banking, into the Islamic banking space. And we as Treasury, we've tried to see how we can make sure that even with the ethical banking practices, we're able to still be profitable in that space, in all the things we do. Yeah.
That's so amazing. As we begin to bring this section to a close, can you talk about women in leadership? Your role, you've handled a lot of leadership roles from your growth from the beginning when you started as a banking officer up to where you are right now. Let's talk about women in leadership. What steps do you think organizations can take to promote more women into leadership positions within the banking sector? I know we started with that. We have 11 women as MDs right now, but what steps do you think can be taken for organizations to promote more women into leadership positions?
Okay, so women, like I mentioned now, part of the regulations from the authorities, and I think including the central bank, is that at every recruitment, your staffing in your organization, you must make sure that you have a level of this fair level playing ground in the organization, and you put so if it's 40-60%, you must make sure that you are meeting that quota for the women in banking. And that doesn't just say that these are women who are not qualified, I mean women who have actually done the hard work to get there. They have all the certifications, they have all the qualifications to actually do the job. And you must recognize the impact or the input of women in the business space. For my own for my own bank right now, I think we have some level, the percentage of women and men in leader is like 50, about 50-50. So we try to practice that. Like I said, my MD is a lady, and she's very big on women leadership. And I also know that organizations are pushing for women-led businesses, trying to finance women-led businesses, because they believe that they've tested it. We've tested it as bankers and try to give out facilities to women and try to give out facilities to men and see how it is managed. If you can try that in as little as finance, you can imagine how an organization will be managed by a woman. So we've actually seen women go ahead to grow institutions, several institutions in the industries, so women-led businesses is actually, we've encouraged that, and I think the industry is moving towards women-led banking businesses.
Akpevwe, it's been an amazing section with you today. Just listening to your calm voice, talking about the things you've gone through and all of that. You talk about self-development, growth towards the path you have chosen. I love that. And I pray that everyone who listens to this will know that if you've chosen a path, this is what you want to do. Grow in that part. Get the necessary certification. Let's stop playing the victim and take the bull by the horn and build our lives with our own hands. It talks about building your career path. Move with the right friends. I've heard for the past 1 month, you don't want to know how many times I've heard that phrase. And there's a series that I want to start called Who is in Your Boat? And you talk about it again. It just resonated in me again. I said, okay, she has said it again. Someone else has mentioned it again. Moving with the right friends, you need to have a career progression pattern in your head, a goal for your career. Know where you're going to. Talk about mentorship. We're going to someone, it doesn't have to be older than you. The person can be younger, but it has experience in the path where you're seeking mentorship. Again, you need to have a certain level of experience and guidance in that part. I want to say thank you, Akpevwe. As we bring this section to a final close, what will be your final words to women? Because I'm particular about women for this month. Speak to the women from your heart. No question, just speak to them.
Okay, so I want to say to the women out there, whether you're in career, you're in business, I know it's difficult to manage your work life and also still be the queen for the men and also be the mother to the kids. But I think that right from the Bible days, God has given us the strength to and will to be able to do all of this, to be able to multitask, to get on. We're actually the backbone of the home. We're the backbone of the family, and I want to encourage everyone that out there. It's not an easy path, but we do make it. We will get there. We'll do well, and we'll excel in everything that we do. And we can do it together. We don't have to trample or bring down one another for us to get to the top. The sky is big enough for every one of us to excel, actually pulling up each other and taking us to the top together. The sky is our limit. So I just want to encourage everyone that out there, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Akpevwe, for such an amazing time. And women, you heard the final words Akpevwe said to us, collaboration.
Yes,
Collaboration is key. Let's
Yeah.
stop fighting ourselves and look for ways to collaborate. Everyone brings something to the table. Together, we can all go far. And that will be my final words today. Thank you so much again, Akpevwe. I know it's late where you are.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for taking out time to being here today. And I know that the words you've spoken will bless someone and cause a transformation in the life of one woman. And for me, if it's only one person that gets changed by this message, I'm fulfilled. I am changed already, so we're looking for other people to get changed by this message. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. And to
Thank
everyone else,
you.
please, you can like, comment, and share and let other people know about this. Thank you so much and happy International Women's Day. And thank you once again, Akpevwe. God bless you.
Thank you.